Our next guest today is Laurie Smith, who is the just received the Lifetime Achievement Award Monday night at the Springfield, Washington County Chamber of Commerce banquet. Congratulations, Laurie.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's quite an honor. I'm still a bit overwhelmed by it all. It's they say there's no greater honor than being recognized by your own peers, and I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I just have to say that you are most deserving. Have been the city. You are now the city administrator. When you first started with the city in
1979, I started as just an administrative assistant, just a secretary. You know, you say just a secretary, but you realize secretaries do a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
So I started as a secretary, worked 3 or 4 years, just doing admin work. You know, I kind of consider myself a tax collector at the time, because that's a lot of what we did then. You know, my jobs evolved tremendously through nearly 4 decades.
Yeah.
But
and you weren't even in the City Hall building that we are now in.
No.
You were around down on the side on Cross Main?
The City Hall office was previously located in the old Pettis Lumber Company on Cross Main, now the home of the Washington County Senior Center. So people don't realize, but not so many years ago, City Hall was not on Main Street.
Yeah.
And trust me, the office environment in the old headquarters on at 106 Cross Main were pretty meek.
Yeah.
They really were.
Now that building is gone.
The building was demolished and purchased, or either donated to or purchased by the county for the senior citizen center development.
Yeah, yeah. So your initial building is no longer even there.
No, it's not.
It's 1979?
79, and we moved to the new City Hall in 1983.
Okay.
So I've worked for 5 mayors. I worked for Mayor Glenn Salmon for 3 years. So Glenn was the mayor when I worked in the old City Hall. Dwight had just been elected, and I worked for Dwight Wright, of course. But Mayor Wright is the one who made the decision to renovate the old fire department on Main Street into a City Hall. So, but Dwight began his tenure as mayor while we still had this 106 Cross Main.
Okay. And so, and then, so you stayed on when Dwight became mayor as what was your title then? City clerk? Did you, okay.
While Dwight was mayor, my title became city treasurer.
Okay.
I did, you know, all of the accounting and all the payroll and back in the days when everything was done with the ledger. You know, when I began my career, we were lucky to have a good IBM typewriter.
Yeah.
You know, that didn't jam the ribbon every 30 seconds. So, you know, the invention of the fax machine, I thought, was like the most miraculous invention in the world. So now, when I look at how not just have our office buildings, you know, just
the technology
transformed, but just look what technology has done.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really when you saw the insurgents in the late 80s and all throughout the 90s. That's when, you know, you saw the insurgents of, you know, when I first started working for the city, we still had a rotary dial phone.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just a lot has changed in.
It's hard to believe really how fast they have
40.
changed.
It's amazing,
you know?
totally amazing.
So you were the you were the treasurer under Dwight.
Yes.
And is that when Mike came?
Yes, he was there. He was there at the very beginning of Dwight's term as mayor.
Okay.
And then I believe he worked at the ad district. We're talking about Mayor Mike Hayden, Lisa's husband, because I began my career, under the leadership of Mike. So I've had some tremendous mentors through the years, because not only did I work for Mayor Mike Hayden, but I worked for City Administrator Mike Hayden.
And that was under Dwight.
And that was in the early days of Dwight Wright.
And you all had moved at that point, renovated the fire department.
Yes.
And and started your office there.
Yes.
Okay. And then how did things go from there?
Okay. After Dwight Wright's tenure as mayor, which I believe is 12 or 13 years. I don't remember. We had a mayor that got in the extra when the state changed the elections so that local and state were on the same year. There was an extra year thrown in. I can't remember if Mayor Saccone or Mayor Wright got that extra year, but I believe it was Mayor Saccone. But nonetheless,
Okay.
I started out working for Glenn Salmon, Mayor Salmon. Then I worked for Mayor Dwight Wright. Then I worked for
Mayor Saccone.
Mayor Dr. Saccone. I still say Mayor Dr. Saccone because so many people call him Dr. Saccone. But, a lot of people don't realize, but he was also on the city council for several years.
Mm-hmm.
So he had he had about 30 years of service with the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then I worked for Mayor Mike Hayden. And now I'm working for Mayor Debbie Wakefield. So I've also worked for 19 different city councils.
Wow.
So, I've seen a lot of water under the bridge, trust me. I've often told people I could almost write a book. I
guarantee you could write a book.
I could almost write a book.
And think about, Laurie, through the course of all those years, because the mayor's position, for those that don't know, is a part-time position. In the early days,
Yes.
when you first started, mayors, as they still do, as with Mayor Wakefield to this day, are usually full-time employees elsewhere.
Yes.
Mayor Saccone as an optometrist, had his optometry business, which is still here today. So,
yes.
So your position as city administrator, which eventually, I suppose, you were city treasurer under Mayor Salmon, and then you went to
Mayor Wright.
And Mayor Wright, and then you became city clerk after that?
City clerk. Then for a short period, I was city clerk treasurer. Then I became city administrator clerk.
Okay.
So I've had so many different titles that sometimes
Okay.
I get confused.
Yeah.
When
But
people
in all those positions, you held the day-to-day operations of the city.
Yes.
You were responsible for those.
Yes. Of course, I have a wonderful staff. When people say, Laurie, how in the world do you do all this? I go, oh, I don't do it all. Trust me, I don't. We have 26 city employees. Some of the best are right there at City Hall. Marie Blandford's been there for many years, too. She's now the city treasurer. So she does all the accounting, payroll, and what I call the book work.
Mm-hmm.
And Sherry Osborne is assistant clerk, and she, does a lot, as far as waiting on people at the counter. She does all the receipts. She does all the billings. So, people don't realize, we have about a $3.6 million budget that trickles in, from checks as small as 27 cents all the way up to. So, when you take all that mail every day over the counter and issue receipts to every single person, account for all of those receipts, that takes a tremendous amount of time.
Right.
Plus, Kathy Elliott is there, and she's the city project coordinator. And she kind of coordinates all the different things that go on in the city. And then I just sort of oversee everything that goes on. Keep in mind that we have approximately 4 to 5,000 sheets of paper in a codification of ordinances that we administer. One of the things that people don't realize, zoning, planning and zoning takes a tremendous amount of our time. It's a great thing for communities. It assures that you have proper planning, and zoning development, but it takes a lot of time. And through the last, say, 10 to 15 years, all of the mortgages that have been refinanced to take advantage of lower interest rates, all of those people are required to have an appraisal, a new appraisal. All those appraisals come through our office for every property in the city. That's just one example of something that takes a lot of time that most people don't even think about.
Right. Well, and you've got to think, you're responsible for, over, of course, the mayor appoints all the committees.
Boards
you
and
have
commissions.
Boards and commissions. You have the zoning and planning commission. You have the water board, which the city owns, the water company. And people don't realize that the water company is owned by the city.
It's a department of the city.
And we see to the water all throughout the county.
Yes. Nor do people realize that we have a housing authority. A lot of small cities don't have housing authorities, but we have a public housing authority that's also a department of the city. We have a cemetery. I mean, we city employees wear a lot of hats.
Right.
And I laughed the other day when someone was talking about everything we do at City Hall. I told them that at least 20% of every call we get is not even for the city. People don't really know the difference between the county clerk and the city clerk. I mean, it's all innocent, but people call our office and they want to have their driver's license renewed. I mean, they want to find a deed. They want to record a deed. They want to know when their court date is. We're not the circuit clerk. We're not the county clerk. So we don't do. People are very confused about local government and what our role, is. And just about maybe 3 years ago, I was out taking an afternoon walk, and I thought this just spoke volumes to, what most people understand about government. A lady stopped me and she goes, "Laurie, do you still work for the county judge? You've worked there for years." I said, "No, I've never worked for the county judge." At that point, I had probably been working for 35 years. This was a neighbor of mine, dear lady, as sincere as she was, thinking I worked for the county judge. I have people ask me about working for the chamber. So people get the city, the chamber, the county, all of that confused.
Yeah. Well, and people ask me a lot too, about the chamber, because they are a city-county chamber of commerce.
Yes.
Made up of businesses and memberships and club memberships and things. And the city has no responsibility for the city. I mean, the city has no responsibility for the chamber. Although we partner with them.
We work with them all the time.
Yeah. And we partner with county government. And
all the time. We work together.
You every day are wearing numerous hats, as I well know, because with regard to my husband having been mayor and city administrator, and now I serve on city council.
Exactly.
But Laurie, so that's why I think this award is most deserving, because with the minimum amount of staff that is housed in the city hall, and the work that you all do is tremendous. So, and if anybody knows city government, it is you. And people don't realize just how valuable your information is, the information that you have and in regard to local ordinances, city laws, just in general, being able to answer any question anyone might have. And you go and train at our Kentucky League of Cities conferences, and you received an award there. because of the experience and the knowledge that you have. And it's really, pretty amazing. And I know how that has just the responsibilities of the city, how they have increased throughout the years that you have worked. How many
Yes.
years total did you say?
38.
38.
In May. Early May, it'll be 38.
Yeah.
But, I have truly seen an evolution that's just amazing. When I think about, the way we used to do our job, I used to literally hand write every property tax bill that left our office. Not only did I write them, I had to calculate them on a calculator. Hand write every one of them. That was back in the day when we only had 2 people at City Hall, and I often did that at my kitchen counter at night because I couldn't do that during the day. There's no way. And we used to do our payroll was all, of course, with a calculator and an ink pen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, the things
And a
have
stamp.
just and a stamp and a stamp, and you look back and you think technology has allowed us to do everything faster and better and more efficient and more professional. All those things are true, but technology keeps us busier because now we have almost all of our city department heads and other people I work with, everybody has a smartphone. So it's not uncommon for me to be texting someone about something going on at 10 o'clock at night. It's very common, actually. I did last night over something that's going on tomorrow. That I just gotten an email because we check our emails sometimes just sitting on our sofa. At 11:30, we're checking our email, and then automatically we open up something that triggers that. Oh, I need to let them know that.
Yeah.
So between we still have our fax machine, we still have faxes. Between scanning and between our cell phones, our smartphones, our iPads, our computers, email, it's just never ending.
Yeah.
And I say we don't work really harder, but we do work smarter. But our city has just changed so much in terms of the services we offer. Just like now we've become more into culture and economic development. Because we also work with SWEDA. The city funds half of SWEDA. Of course, we do Main Street. We do downtown development. The grants that we make other people aware of and the grant money that we bring into our community has been millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I've personally, written them and administered millions of dollars worth of grants. And that's something that communities have to take advantage of because if you don't, you would burden your locals to death with new taxes constantly. And we haven't imposed a new tax or raised taxes with the exception of the 3% increase in property taxes. And that's an increase in revenues, not in rates. So we haven't raised taxes in probably 25 years, with the exception of that little tiny increase in property tax. So, and when I began working for the city, I always have to tell this story. I graduated from high school here, went on to St. Catherine College for a couple of years. Pretty much right out of the gate, started working for the city. And and in 1979, I had only been working there about 3 weeks, and I realized the city was having to borrow money to make our payroll. So trust me, that was kind of nervous for a young girl right out of school, thinking I have a good job and find out my employer's having to borrow the money to make the payroll. So I will say that, our city, to be as small as it is, we've always managed to be fiscally responsible, and we haven't had to raise tax. And I do feel like we offer a good level of services for the number of employees we have, which is varies between 26 to 30. But
Well, you think about your garbage collection, your recycling.
and we used to do
street-
garbage collection.
Right.
When I began working for the city, we did garbage collection.
Right. And that's what
So
I
we
had
took
in my
all
mind.
those
and
calls
yeah,
too.
Right.
That was fun.
So we don't. That's right.
We had a swimming pool.
Yeah, we had a swimming pool. Hopefully, we'll have one of those again. We've got the city park.
City park.
And that's a huge investment and requires a lot of revenue to run it, simply because of buildings, lighting, baseball fields, etc.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot more than people realize.
yeah,
But people don't, and then we have just the things that people do associate with. Of course, we have police, we have fire, we have dispatch, which is funded 50-50 with city county, but it's in a city facility. We have quite a few city buildings and city properties. So I mean, all that's a whole new level of work. Of course, we have public works, streets and roads. We have Idle Park, you just said. Then we have just legal ABC Housing Authority. Just keeping up with all the legal things we have to keep up with, all those 5,000 pages of ordinances. Of course, so we also obviously have Tim Ash, our new city attorney, that helps with that, and then Bill, our loyal many-year city attorney, that was awesome. And then we have Main Street Renaissance that's kept. We have people that come into town and they go, to be such a small town, you all have a lovely downtown. Yeah. We hear compliment after compliment about our downtown. And we've even had other communities come here and talk to Nell. I'm very proud of what goes on downtown too. I've been chair of the Main Street Renaissance Committee since 1999. That's a long time too.
yeah.
But we have other cities that come here and talk about how we keep our downtown, historic, and all the work that Nell does. And so, things don't happen by accident in a community. It takes a lot of work to highlight your history, make people appreciate your historic buildings, work on that development. Let people know what's available, tax credit wise, and we've dropped quite a bit of grant money downtown too.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, Laurie. Is that you, because of you're keeping abreast of all of the grants out there available through the state and federal government, you have always taken advantage of those, and I can't even imagine how many grants you have written through the years, requests for monies to do our, of course, under Dwight, the downtown revitalization, and sidewalks, and our footprints to the park.
Which is under Mayor Hayden, we did the Farmers Market Pavilion, which is another thing the city has under our wing. We did Footprints to the Park, and we did the second phase of the East High Street redevelopment, because that came in 2 phases. So we constantly have a grant or 2 going on.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm working on 2 right now. And keep in mind that every time we write, a grant, what I say, write a grant or get everything together to submit, we don't get everything we submit funded. I mean, I recently wrote something that I just knew would be funded, and no, we didn't get funded. Yeah. So keep in mind, we've had tremendous luck through the years. Part of the luck is because of the dedicated people we had in our community that worked in Frankfort that looked out for us. I don't think people understand the
significance of that.
Significance of Senator Kelly and Mike Hayden in Frankfort.
Yeah.
I do. I know what that brought here, but I know that some people don't. Some people think things happen by accident, and like I talked about downtown development, county water, the Robertson building, Mordecai's restaurant, this building, all the things that we've been involved in as a city government none of that has happened by accident. It has all taken truly blood, sweat, and tears.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And of course, I know because I've been involved in a lot of those projects, and just as, as a bystander or actively, but I know, and I think of a story about Dwight when, because I know Kathleen told me this about when, he went up and sat outside Governor Collins' office, or maybe you told me this, I can't remember, but I was thinking this, and until
she saw him.
Until she saw him, until he got the money that he needed to complete the downtown renovation.
Yes.
And he said they can get that money from somewhere. And of course, that's when Larry Hayes, too, who had ties to Springfield, was the he was the Governor Collins' chief of staff. So
Yes.
we, or Secretary of the Cabinet, anyway, overall of state government, and so those are ties that we've all had. But you did the work behind the scenes, getting all that together. And it takes someone with knowledge and experience and determination and know-how. So Dwight just sat up there and made sure we got the money, but you made sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed on your applications and things.
And anytime we submit an application, we have to do the behind the scenes work. We have to get on the phone. We have to call, our representatives. We have to do letters of support. Every time the governor's liaison, we're working on a grant now, and every time, he sees me in Springfield, he comes here like maybe once a month. He's like, I'm working on it. I don't even have to ask him. He's like, I've asked him so many times. But I mean, you have to be persistent. You really do, because it's very competitive.
120 counties here in this state, and so
it's very competitive.
Yeah.
And everything I do, is under the direction of the mayor and the city council. I mean, I just don't, dream up things. Occasionally I do and take it to them and present it as, what about this? But I mean, I work for them. The mayor and the city council are literally my bosses. And so, I do, and all city employees do, work for them. So,
But you have a lot of people to keep informed and to communicate with on a daily basis. Your mayor, your city council, your department heads. Glenn, who's in charge of the Public Works, and Glenn Mattingly, and then Bernard Smalley, who's in charge of the park and the water company, and then the chief of police, and then our fire department.
And fire department, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I work every day with all of the city department heads and city employees. Rarely does a day go by that I haven't emailed every one of them 2 or 3 times, and vice versa. The mayor and I, we text and email numerous times throughout the day and night.
Yeah.
She'll appreciate that, because a lot of what we do is in the evenings, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Now that I have an empty nest, it's great.
Well, it's a lot of hard work, and it's very time consuming, and I just appreciate the fact that you have been there and to do that work, and your shoes will be hard to fill, Laurie, and if you ever do decide to retire. And I think it was just most deserving that you received that award. And I know your family, and who attended the attended the award ceremony the other night, they've always been very supportive of you.
Very.
And your husband, Terry.
Very.
And your children.
Tara. My children are Tara Taylor. She's married to Todd Taylor. Tara's an OT here in Washington County School System. She transferred here from Bullitt County. Then I have Molly. My middle daughter is Molly Medley, married to Richard Medley. She's a 3rd grade teacher in Bardstown at Foster Heights. And then my youngest is Lance Smith. He's a civil engineer, works for Ram Contracting. He's married to Margaret Hayden. And I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. Just makes my heart swell to talk about them.
Yeah.
But the newest one is Henry, a little boy. He's 9 months old. and busy
That's
as
Margaret
a bee.
and Lance's.
Margaret and Lance's.
And then
Tara and Todd have Madison and Lauren.
who've been on our show to talk about their business.
Yes, they have a little business, Two Chicks Farm.
Yeah.
And in all my spare time, you know, it's not uncommon for me to be researching something for the city, but in when I really have free time, I spend with my grandchildren. I spend a lot of time with the two girls in their business.
Yeah.
We're constantly painting or coming up with something.
Well, I know you're very artistic, and you're always involved in some project with that. And I must mention too, Laurie, how supportive you have been in regard to all types of community activities here. You know, the Rotary Club you're a member of, Springfield Business and Professional Women's Club you're a member of. You've support the theater here, and
I've served on the development committee for the theater. I have a big heart for theater. I just think it's a great thing for small towns. It's an outlet for those who maybe can't play football or, you know, become a cheerleader or, you know. I think it's just I think that arts just add a whole new dimension to small towns. So I'm big in supporting the arts. I've also
St.
worked
Catherine College. I mean St. Catherine Mid-Kentucky Arts.
Yes, Mid-Kentucky Chorus.
Chorus.
And that's a new city department, by the way. Theater and Mid-Kentucky Chorus have become the newest city department. So that's some of what we've been doing in the last month or two is getting all that worked out to incorporate into city. So that's been a good move, I think.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
Nonsense has just seen 2 weekends of filled up shows, you know, sold out shows. And I always have to tell this story. When Mayor Hayden became our mayor, he, you know, wanted to have a little meeting with me, kind of transition, tell me some problems we have, what you're aware of, things we need to work on. And so I told him that parking was becoming a problem because now that the Opera House had opened and the show nights, you know, but with Mordecai's or Saccone's or Stappy, whoever on Main Street, you know, wanted parking places for their patrons, that we were having an issue with theater goers filling up Main Street parking spaces. And he said to me, Laurie, that is not a problem. That is the best thing that you could ever tell me. Anytime a small town is filling up every parking space, that's a sign of commerce and development. So he said, don't tell me parking's a problem again. So I've always thought about that little story when I talk about parking.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
yeah. And there is plenty of parking. People forget about all that huge parking lot down behind the Judicial Center.
Yeah.
And it's in walking distance of everything downtown.
I think we counted over 500 parking spaces within like 2 blocks.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah,
it's more
That's
of a
not a problem.
It's more of a perceived problem.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people say, you know, if they can't park in the front door, there's not a parking space. Well, that's not really true, but we're all a little guilty of it. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're all a little guilty.
Yeah. Well, because we're a little community, I think we just we kind of expect that, you know. But when we go to the city, you have to walk a daggone mile or two. So
Exactly.
yeah. And so those are things too, Laurie, that I think it's important to mention that you've been involved in, and I know very numerous other businesses and affairs too as well. So, and
I've served on lots of committees and lots of roundtable discussion, had lots of, and I'm always, you know, I'm always honored to do that. I mean, I like to see, you know, my hometown, I like to see, you know, everything work well, and I'll always be dedicated to this community.
Yeah.
You know, I owe, you know, a debt of gratitude to everybody in this community. I mean, not only have the past mayors and city councils supported me, but all the people have too. I mean, I've truly made some of the best friendships in the entire world right here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just want to thank you for being here today, and I know there are other projects and things that we discussed we might mention, but we'll have to save those for another day. You'll just have to come back on and talk about those.
There's a couple more that we have in the works, so.
Yep, a couple projects, and so, but I just want to congratulate you again, and and I know that it's well deserved, and I just appreciate you being here today.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And I lastly want to thank, not just the current mayor and city council, for supporting me, but I also want to thank our Chamber of Commerce for all of their work and dedication in making these awards possible. Because I happen to know, as a recipient, that it really is, it's so heartwarming to be recognized. And I know that banquets are not prepared and they don't happen, just by a wink of the eye. I've been involved in a few of those too in my days.
Yeah.
So I appreciate their hard work too.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Chamber.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.